So while I was browsing through I don't work here lady stories, I took a trip down memory lane when my brother worked at a southern grocery store chain with green shirts and where shopping is a pleasure. My brother was a cashier. One of my brother's regulars was this elderly lady from Puerto Rico. She'd come by every Saturday to get her groceries. She didn't speak a word of English, but she was so endearing that my brother and his coworkers lovingly called her abuelita. Even the managers called her that. It turns out her grandson was a fellow cashier, and for big holidays like Christmas, she'd send him in with enough homemade goodies like tamales and enchiladas for everyone. Just a real sweet lady. One Saturday evening, I got off work early and decided to get some last-minute things for a booby cave my brother and I were hosting. We were living together at the time. It was maybe an hour before closing, so the store's practically dead. I made the critical mistake of changing into a green shirt, but it was a much darker shade of green than the one the employees wear. I was getting flour when Abuelita, who I had met before on previous excursions, rolled up on her electric shopping cart and politely asked me, in Spanish, to reach something from the top shelf. I helped her and she went on her way after thanking me. 5 minutes later, I was in front of the meat counter, debating which brisket to get when I heard the cleared throat. The warning call of the wild Karen. I stepped aside, thinking I was in her way. She cleared her throat again. I turned and looked to see someone who resembles a 250 lb version of Kate Gosselin, complete with the haircut. This was my fatal mistake. Go to the back and get 5 New York strip steaks. Ah, she bellowed. Pardon? I asked, not quite registering what was going on. Are you deaf? She screamed so loud that my ears are ringing. I said, Get me 5 New York strip steaks. I'm sorry, but I don't work here. I said, I can get someone to help you, though. Don't be stupid. You helped that bitch in the scooter, and you're wearing the shirt. You're just being lazy. I was done at this point and said, Listen, lady, even if I did work here, what makes you think I would help you? Karen raised her fat fist. And then it happened. Something hit the side of her head with a loud smack before landing by my feet. We looked down and saw a flip-flop. All of a sudden, I hear raised voices in Spanish and turned to look. Abuelita was maybe 10 feet away, missing one flip-flop and holding her other flip-flop in her hand, winding up like she was in Mel Pitcher. She was glaring at Mega Karen with black eyes and her mouth set in a firm line. Her grandson was running up to her, yelling at her in Spanish to put down la chancla. Cue Abuelita, starting to cry and tell her grandson that she was only protecting the nice lady who had helped her, and that Mega Karen was going to hit me. Now, by this point, the manager is coming over and Mega Karen must have realized she'd done goofed up. She pulled the quickest disappearing act I've ever seen. I returned Abuelita's flip-flop to her and thanked her. I also made sure the manager knew that Abuelita was trying to defend me. And that is the story of how Mega Karen learned the terrifying power of Abuelita and La Chancla. I was a recently married college student in the Midwest U.S. in the mid-1980s. I was driving with my wife on a busy street, turned on my signal, and slowed to make a turn. We felt a small bump in the rear of the vehicle and pulled over. The car behind us did not see the signal and noticed that we were braking and struck us. The other car stopped and the driver was a teenage girl with a learner's permit, accompanied by her father. The damage to our car was minor, as I remember, some scrape and tearing of the rubber strip covering the metal rear bumper. The father of the girl asked me not to call the police. He would be happy to pay for the repairs. Obviously, he wanted to avoid an insurance claim and a mark on his daughter's driving record. As I was a naive fool at the time, I agreed. We exchanged phone numbers with the agreement that I would obtain a couple of estimates for repairs and then he would pay for the damages. He was your typical middle-aged father type and explained that he owned a business in town. After getting some estimates, probably less than $150, I attempted to contact Mr. business owner. When I spoke with him about the estimates for repair, he was very rude with me and basically told me to get lost. At this point, with no idea on how to proceed, I asked a friend, who was a law student, if he could give me any advice. He helped me write a stern letter with several empty threats reviewing what would happen if he didn't pay. The letter also reminded him of the nice gesture I made by not involving the police with his underage daughter's poor driving. The letter must have worked, because I eventually received a check for the amount of the repair estimate and we had our car repaired. But I was still fuming about how Mr. Business owner treated me like a dick when I did him a favor. So I went to the pharmacy with the largest magazine rack and took subscription card inserts out of every pornographic magazine I could find. Playboy, Penthouse, Hustler, Playgirl, etc. Then I went to my apartment and filled in Mr. Business owner's name and address on each of the cards. He had given me his phone and address information at the accident scene. The next day, on my way to class, I deposited the cards in the mailbox. The subscription cards all had postage paid, so it didn't cost me a dime. Then I dreamed of all the dirty magazines that were delivered with Mr. Business owner's name was on the mail-in label, and I hoped his wife and kids were the ones who got the mail each day and looked at the mags. This happened a couple weeks ago. I, 34-year-old female, work in a government office in my province. It's a rewarding job, but doesn't pay very well, and I absolutely love having my nails done. My nails have been pretty shit my entire life. Waking, weak, no matter what oil supplement, whatever I try, and I used to have a bad habit of chewing them. So I bought myself a $50 gel kit from Amazon and started doing them myself about a year ago. I have a nice little setup at this point, and I'll do my friends' nails from time to time. I've also completely stopped chewing them. I brought my kit to work the other day because I was going to a friend's house to do her nails as a favor before a party. My friend offered to buy a pizza and we were planning to watch a movie afterwards. I made the mistake of discussing this plan with a coworker when she noticed the kit sitting on top of my locker when she came in. Small lockers, and I didn't want to put it on the floor where I put my dirty walk-to-work shoes. Oh, my God. This woman, 50 sheesh, spent the 4 hours leading up to lunch badgering me about how I should give her a manicure on our lunch break. I had my favorite teal shade on, and she talked about how much she loved it and how she never gets her nails done because her husband thinks it's a waste of money, and how I can get some practice, and it would be so nice of me, and I said it first gently more than once, and then I thought pretty firmly that I would be eating lunch on my break before I gave up and just responded to everything she said with a non-committal grunt. When I got up to go, she tried to act like I'd agreed to it and she would grab her stuff and meet me in the lunchroom. I had to look her in the eye and say, "Name. I'm going to eat during my 30-minute unpaid lunch break, and I give you a free manicure. Please drop this. You're making me uncomfortable." She has refused to speak to me or look directly at me since. She's mostly remote and kind of annoying, so that's not a problem. She's also shit-talked me behind my back. Some of my coworkers have told me about it, and she's a huge gossip with a massive chip on her shoulder about everything, so I can only assume most people in the office have heard her harrowing tale. Luckily, everyone who has talked to me about it agrees she's being a complete clown. But seriously, who the hell asks a coworker you're barely even friendly with for a free manicure, let alone insists upon it for hours? I am now 26 and living in a big city, but I was born in a small Australian town known for its high crime rates. This town once had the world's highest per capita stabbing rate. I grew up in a household where neither of my parents worked and we lived in public housing. My father was arrested when I was 1 year old and has been in jail almost continuously since then. My brother was born when I was 2, but we don't know his father. At the age of 4, my mother met her future husband, who was wealthy and had a daughter my age. His daughter's mother had cut off contact with them. Thanks to his wealth, we moved out of the troubled neighborhood into a nice house. However, my stepfather and stepsister resented my brother and me. They wouldn't let us do anything we enjoyed because it involved his monies. When I turned 11, my mother became pregnant, and due to the limited space in our 3-bedroom home, my brother and I were sent to live with our uncle in his squalid public housing. Although he was an alcoholic and a drug dealer, he always treated us well. We were close to his son, who was 3 years older than me. We only saw our mother at Christmas, and our stepfather refused to let us into the house. At 15, after our uncle's arrest, his house became overrun with drug use. My cousin, then 18, was severely injured in a fight and hospitalized. We asked to move back with our mother, but she refused, saying we were big boys who could fend for ourselves. We then lived with my father's sister, who was in an abusive relationship and slept on her floor. When our uncle returned from jail, he was involved in a serious gang. After finishing school, I earned a scholarship to a university in the city. When I returned after my first year, my then 16-year-old brother was involved in criminal activities. My mother and stepfather cut off financial support when I turned 18 and did the same to my brother when he was 16. I secured a well-paying job and have since accumulated significant wealth. Last year, following a police shooting near my hometown and ensuing gang wars, my uncle was arrested and my cousin fled. I brought my brother to live with me and funded his education. After hearing this, my mother and stepfather invited us to a family Christmas. It was nice seeing my 15-year-old half-sister for the first time since she was 7. However, they demanded that I finance my stepsister's car and house and buy a car for my half-sister's 16th birthday. They also audaciously requested I contribute to their $5 million beach retirement home for all they had done for us's. My brother and I left, and now my mother keeps calling me. My stepfather insists that since he housed us until I was 11, we owe him. We're now back at my house in the city. Yesterday, after posting on, the idiot, my stepsister showed up demanding a new car and has been screaming outside my house all night. Honestly, I'm starting to have more regard for my father, who has spent most of my life in jail. I ran into this store during lunch because I thought I wouldn't be very busy. I was wrong. They mailed me a 20% off my entire purchase coupon, so I was going to buy a few of those scent pod things. Anyways, I have the coupon sticking out of the front pocket of my purse. Not super far. It was tucked in safely in the front pocket. I don't know why anyone would notice it there. I never look at other people that closely anyhow when I'm out shopping. I kind of just keep my eye on the prize, so to speak. Not looking around at other people's purses, that's for sure. So I'm looking at the scent pod, smelling some staying in my lane, and someone taps my shoulder. I turn around and this lady asks, "Are you going to use that coupon?" I'm really taken aback because I'm literally in the store that the coupon is for. If I'm shopping in the store with coupon, I'm probably going to use it. So even though I'm usually polite, I'm shocked enough by being interrupted by such a brazen question that I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. She says, "Oh, the 20% off coupon?" Me, yes. I try to turn back around. She taps me again. "Well, do you think they'll let us both use it?" Me, well, I don't think so. At this point, she changes her tone and gets rude with me. "Well, how do you know? Have you asked before?" Now, I am not the most assertive person, so I was like, well, I could ask when I go up to the register. This lady holds her hand out and says, "Well, you can let me try it first and then I'll ask them." And I'm just standing there staring at her. Like, the audacity. And does she think I'm dumb? Like, sure. You use the coupon first on your stuff. Then ask if I can use it when they'll inevitably say no, and I'll be the one to be out of luck. Shake my head. So I finally just say, "No, sorry, I'll ask when I go up." And then just turn around and walk a few steps away. I tuck the coupon in deeper into my pocket because at this point she was bold and worried she'll just grab it. She watches me for a while, but I just keep looking at other things trying to avoid eye contact. When I do go up to pay, the cashier just takes the coupon away and puts it in their register. I didn't even ask if I could use it again because I didn't want to be that person. Then I just quickly walked out of the store, eyes forward so I wouldn't have to see this woman again. This happened a few weeks ago, but I just found this subreddit today and it reminded me of it. I still can't believe people like that. And the thing is, she was already at the store with stuff in her bag. She was already planning to buy things. Nothing in that store is necessary. She just spied my coupon and was like, I could get this stuff cheaper. For God's sake.